podcast, we explore Caribbean excellence globally, and we deep dive into leaders who navigate power across borders. But excellence is not only tested in public rooms. Sometimes it's tested in private spaces. And how you handle those moments determine what survives and what even thrives. So this is something we don't talk about when we talk about leadership. We talk about strategy, we talk about scale, we talk about capital, access, governance, impact, but we really rarely talk about what happens when the real test of leadership doesn't happen in the boardroom. It happens at home.
Yeah. And so today's episode, for those of you thinking this is going to be some episode of Scandal, it will not. It's not going to be about sensationalism, but I think I want you to think about this episode as integrity. It's about accountability, and it's about what it means to rebuild when the world is watching, or maybe even when it feels like the world is watching. So we're joined today by Sonya Fulford and Garvey Missick. Sonya serves at the highest levels of global sport governance, including the FIFA Council, representing small nations on a global stage. Garvey is a veteran entrepreneur and construction executive with decades of leadership across the Turks and Caicos Islands. Shout out to the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Shout out to Turks and Caicos.
Yes, they are also husband and wife, and they are also authors. And so they are the co-authors of Hope in the Ashes. And we are really excited because they bought us merch.
Yeah.
Where's my merch? We put the merch back in the bag. But we probably more excited than we should have been. Anyway, so this story really is not just going to be about betrayal. And we're going to talk about the story and we're going to talk about the book and kind of what their hopes are around this. But we really want to ground it in Caribbean excellence, leadership at the highest levels. And then how do we navigate along the lines of what Denise just said, when things are going on, big things, health things, relationship things, personal growth, betrayal, all of those things, how do we navigate at those highest levels still and have integrity with maybe some of the healing and so forth that still needs to happen, right? So we're going to talk about the cost of silence, the cost of shame, the cost of choosing to rebuild over image, the cost of accountability, and for me, when I read their story and I sort of thought about how Denise and I would bend this episode, the masculine perspective in the story that we're going to tell, especially Caribbean men and Caribbean women, men and women, is going to really be powerful. So,
and I'm really excited about this conversation because it's a difficult conversation, but it's a conversation I think that both of you all have handled with such dignity and purpose. And so this conversation is not just for leaders, it's not just for couples. It's for men who were thought to be silent in times of challenges, and women too. I think this conversation is about conversations we rarely hear about publicly, especially in Caribbean spaces. And so it's a conversation, I think, for anyone that's navigating very, very difficult times and how you emerge and the lessons that we can all learn from experiences like this, because all of that is leadership.
Yeah. So welcome to the We Whistle podcast. I'm Stacey Luces. I'm here with my co-host, Denise Williams. And we want to welcome Sonya and Garvey. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
They drove 9 hours. They even took flights to get here, okay? Anybody coming after you guys have to put in so much effort because you set the bar, right? But no, we are really grateful to you for making the effort, making the time. And I, like Denise said, we're so honored that you're going to share your story with us. And we hope that, people take some leadership lessons and golden nuggets from this.
Well,
All right.
We appreciate you having us.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
Sonya, let's get right into it.
Okay.
I'm originally from Trinidad. The only sport I like, I still tell everybody trying to tell me about American football,
Oh boy.
is not the same. We grew up watching the World Cup. We grew up with cricket. And so you sit at the FIFA Council level. And that's a big deal. Because, right,
Yeah.
sport is typically the misconception is it's a lot of men. And you represent small nations on a global stage. And Garvey, you've built sustained enterprise in Turks and Caicos for decades.
Yes.
Before we talk about the book, I want to start and ground folks in sort of your leadership and at your level, what is a requirement or what is something that you think you constantly have to have on that people don't see?
For me, as a Caribbean woman, I'm going to say a Black Caribbean woman, I think what people really underestimate is the emotional restraint that you carry. And I say that because we're under a lot of scrutiny as is. You said it correctly when you started. FIFA is known as a men's world. And I remember when I was first elected, I, we know about racism. We hear stories about how Black women are treated. And I don't want to emphasize on that, but we're having a real conversation
Yes,
here.
absolutely.
And how women are treated when you're from a small island. And I can remember people making me feel as if I didn't belong there.
Yeah.
And honestly speaking, sometimes I questioned myself if I belong there because it's something that I never dreamed of, right? This is the top seat in the biggest sport in the world. And I'm a little girl coming from Grand Turk, a country with a population of under 50,000 officially. So
I'm sure somebody's like
yeah,
up in that by one right now.
So who expects to be there?
Yeah.
And there's a huge burden with that. A lot of it, I think, is self-inflicted because we don't want to fail.
Absolutely.
And because you're coming in under a microscope, you feel that pressure.
Yeah.
So you almost have to pretend. You have to pretend that everything is okay when you're walking through the storm, whether it's your professional life or your private life. And you have to feel that you almost have to be perfect, that you have to make the right decisions in every circumstances, and it puts you under a lot of pressure.
That's a tremendous
And that is
amount of
something
pressure.
that is something people don't see because of the mask that you're forced to wear.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things, Denise and I talk about this a lot, is it starts from even our appearance, right? Like never a hair out of place.
No.
Perfect makeup. Always overdressed almost when you look
Wear
at other
heels,
people.
even if you have
Your
Yes,
baby
problems.
toe is like,
If you
I'm
have a
done. I
sprained
can't
ankle.
even.
Right.
But down to how we write, like we're going through that where we're entrepreneurs and I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but your writing and the way you present everything, you almost fourth, fifth, sixth guess it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
We're
Yeah.
absolutely unlearning a lot
Yeah.
of the things.
You almost feel you have to be perfect.
Yes. Yes.
Which nothing is perfect. So right there,
Absolutely
it's
nothing.
flawed.
And you know that yourself because I know that, but yet still you strive to do that because of the judgment and the scrutiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Gavi, tell me now. So we've heard a little bit about Sonia's journey into leadership. Your journey is slightly different. You've been
Yeah.
really deep into entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship in a small island state has its own set of challenges. Tell us about your leadership journey before we get into the book.
Well, my leadership journey as it relates to the construction industry, I will start with first. Now we are building our own brand, which through our company, Missick's Contracting. And that is different from working with bigger construction companies and having to show up, basically doing the majority of the work and getting zero credit for the work you're doing. So you're expected to show up. You're expected to do the extra, go the extra mile, knowing that someone comes along and case in point, when I'm finishing one of these multi-million-dollar homes, I'm the one doing all the legwork. I'm the one on site. I'm dealing with the client. But when it's time for handover, I'm probably not invited.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that type of thing and how you have to show up as a local
Yes.
in Turks and Caicos, even though I'm from Turks and Caicos, showing up as a local in Turks and Caicos, they expect you to go that extra mile, to be doing the most, and so on and so forth. And then it doesn't matter how long you've been in the field. For every time you sit at a table, you have to tell yourself, I belong. And then in doing so, they expect you to prove yourself, even though you've done so much in the industry. So I find that you always have to just know where your center of gravity is, plot your own course as it relates to your moral compass. And I use a slogan, basically show up as a chicken in the rain or a duck in the pond, where this is how I eat, this is how I feed my family, and I'm not gonna let all the stuff around me get to me, basically.
I love that.
Duck in the pond.
Yeah.
I like the swan, okay, where you're just gliding and your tiny little legs are like sweating down there, right? So one of the things we talk about at Whistle is Caribbean excellence is everywhere. In any industry, in any big kind of corporations, behind the most innovative brands, there's a Caribbean mind, a Caribbean voice.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you just said something so powerful. A lot of times it's unseen,
Mhm.
right? Now, when we talk about that isolation tax, where at the top, we look around, just me. I remember the first time I was on a Zoom call and I saw a bunch of people looking like me. It took me by surprise. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm used to my brown face.
Mhm.
But when you talk about that isolation tax, right, that leaders carry in rooms of power, and Sonya, you sort of alluded to that just now. Like, when did you realize that success publicly did not mean safety privately?
I guess it depends on how you measure success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, some time ago, success for me meant how many buildings I can support or construct, whether it's at home or regional, because my emphasis is basically on our Caribbean nations.
Mhm.
How many looking for another example.
Projects, basically.
But yeah, projects. How many
general.
projects I can approve. That was my idea of success.
Yeah.
But that idea has changed. Now for me, success is about alignment with my values. When I leave this arena, football, I want to be remembered by how many lives I've impacted. How many opportunities I've given to youth, how many opportunities I've given to women in the game, because it's really hard for women to get involved in football now. I mean, there are so many doors that are closed even by other women.
Yeah.
And I want to be
That part.
Yes,
That part.
I want to be remembered by that because, like I said, and you may hear a lot of this if we talk about FIFA, because that was really a journey for me. It was so challenging at times that I did not enjoy it. Imagine someone who got an opportunity of a lifetime, being able to sit at the table, the highest governing sporting body in the world, and you don't enjoy it. I dreaded going to it, and that is, of course, because of how I was treated. Success for me would be for other women who walk in that room, and there are other women now because I was the first of three.
Yeah.
Now there are 8 or 9. For other women who walk in that room, I am hoping that I can give them, and I try, the kind of support that would not make them feel that way.
Support that you
That
didn't
just
have.
to walk in the door, they would feel that they belong. And those are small things, but it hits you in a big way. And that's success for me right now.
That loneliness on the top, Stacey, that's a common theme that we're hearing. What do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned in that entire experience that you would share with other women coming in to a
Or men who have to support or be better allies, right?
Yeah, but what I can tell you, yes, you feel lonely at the top. And I believe that loneliness is also a bit of self-inflicted pressure because
That's such a good awareness.
yes,
It's in our
yes,
head a lot of times.
and I went through that basically because I felt because I was at the top, I wanted to be extra careful now and who I share things with. And when I say share things with, I mean personal things. Knowing that I had challenges, I was careful about who I shared that with because I didn't want to be judged.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And also a lot of times when you rise at the top, you have people down there who let's be honest, everybody
Having
isn't
a barrel
always happy.
mentality.
No.
Yeah.
Everybody isn't always happy when you rise to the top.
More
Right.
exposed.
And you know, I I have stories of even Caribbean people. And you have to be careful with that too. Well, I felt I needed to be careful because if they knew a certain thing about me or a certain thing that I was experiencing, then maybe it wouldn't be private and it wouldn't be confidential anymore. They would use it against me.
Yeah.
So, but what I've learned is that whilst I was inflicting that some of that loneliness on myself, I had a really good and trusted, really good and trusted support system that I could lean on. And I only knew that when I decided that I would let down that wall and I would just, you know, whatever happens, happens. So I basically opened that door for people who were longing to help me and support me to come in. And there were, I mean, many trusted people, colleagues, I mean, staff.
Let down that
Yes,
door. Yeah.
you have to you can't think too deep about it because it's not as lonely up there as we think it is. A lot of that is inflicted, you know, by ourselves.
And we
Yes.
will almost want to put this fortress up, right?
Yep.
Because to some extent, we represent either entire race or entire country sometimes.
Yep.
And,
Protection.
and we don't say it like that or think about it like that consciously. But subconsciously, we don't want to let insert whatever down.
That's right.
Ourselves, our being the first in college, the first with this kind of responsibility, the first on a global platform, the first to like launch something amazing.
People you feel who are depending on you and who are depending on you not to fail. When in fact, sometimes that is not even the case, but that's how we see it.
Yeah. Garvey, give us the male perspective on this.
I would just piggyback off her somewhat because in the construction industry, success to me years ago looked like how many buildings you can get up in record time and the level of construction, the level of finishes and so on and so forth. But I have watched that transitioned into how much younger people that I can mentor in that same field. And I found myself investing more in that and showing them the ways around construction, so to speak, and more the administrative part than the actual field part. Because when I got in it, and I remember when I started getting into quantity surveying, I always wanted to know, like, how can you decide to pay a guy who's putting up formwork $2.50 a foot for formwork in a contract that is $7 million? So that gave me insight. Well, okay, then I need to know what the numbers look like. I need to know how it's breaking up and so on and so forth. So being able to mentor younger Turks and Caicos Islanders generally, but younger people in general that has come into the construction industry under my watch, so to speak, that has been what success changed. That's the change that success taken on for me. And that's what it looks like now, how much of them I can mentor. And what that also does is it keeps me at a higher standard of accountability because buildings don't talk.
Right.
Buildings don't look up to anyone.
Yeah.
If
Some of them talk, okay, I'll tell you my haunted house.
like I remember this guy, he did a lot of the structural steel.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what? It doesn't matter how bad I tie those.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from the strength. You're gonna come around and put concrete on it anyway. And then the other guy is gonna put the mortar on it and finish it and paint it, and you're gonna have a beautiful building.
It's such a beautiful reflection on both on both of you all, that over time you measure success differently.
It's a shift. Yeah.
Yes, I guess it's when you rise to the top, your vantage point allows you to have that shift, right? That's growth. And then something happens, right? So let's talk about the book. Let's talk about the book.
So the book is titled Hope in the Ashes, right? And like I said, guys, we got merch. So sorry for you.
Yep.
Um,
I'm gonna wear my merch.
when we think of ashes, except for the phoenix, right? But when we think of ashes, we think of destruction. Like we
Yes.
think of the end and like desolation and all of that
Yes.
stuff, right? But what do you think actually burned? Like what actually burned? Because there's the fear of what's going to happen. And then what actually happened?
Well, what I'll tell you, if when you said that, the first thing came to my mind was our marriage.
Same here.
Our
Same here.
marriage.
Our marriage as we knew it
Yeah.
Yeah.
before.
Ooh, that just gave me
Before
chills.
now, right?
We're both like,
Look at it,
Yeah,
guys.
Because our marriage as we knew it before was destroyed. Betrayal entered the room. And it over time it destroyed our marriage. It took us a lot of hard, intentional work to rebuild it. Still rebuilding.
Still a work in progress.
But that's the ashes we're talking about.
Yeah.
And now we'll share later on, I guess, in the conversation, why we said hope in the ashes. But our marriage as we knew it hit rock bottom.
That was the ashes. That is the ashes, actually. That we talked about. And like my wife said, of course, betrayal entered the room, and then everything else that comes with it. Because a lot of times we look at betrayal as it in its mature state, I should say. But there's all sorts of things leading up to that, or all sorts of things surrounding that. There's the lies. There's all sorts of other things that protects the behavior.
Protects the ego.
Protects the ego. That's all a part of it. So all of that entered, and it seeped into a point where it basically just burned. And for me, I knew that I had lost my wife. I had lost my marriage as it was.
Yeah.
And like she said, Jackie said earlier, sorry, the hope piece of it, for me, was hope, but with zero expectations.
How do you maintain the presence, the external presence? Because we still have to show up
Yes.
on the construction side for the CEO at FIFA, for friends and family, whether they're advocates or like secretly like, haha, look what happened to you, who you think it is. We know.
Of course.
So how do you make this decision? One, how do you show up when destruction is happening? But how do you, it's such a monumental decision to work through it.
While you're doing it, you have your private pain, ash, fire, and you have your public opinions, right?
And leadership, right?
Well, at the beginning, and I'll say,
You're allowed to break every plate in the house.
Yeah.
Sorry,
She's not kidding. She's not kidding.
At the beginning, it was tough.
Yeah.
And when I say the beginning, I'm talking about almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
When we decided that we would start again. Because of course, small island, right?
Everybody have an opinion.
More gossip, more opinions.
Yep.
Everybody knows me, even if I don't know them.
Yeah.
Everybody know us, and it was a hot topic.
Yeah.
Even when people wasn't sure what was happening, but it was challenging. It was challenging going to work.
Yeah.
Showing up to my office. And I get emotional thinking back about it because don't interrupt me because I'm gonna cry.
Listen, there will probably be a lot of crying.
There'll be a lot of crying. We'll be
Okay.
right there with you,
Yes.
holding your hands.
Because yes, I hate to admit it, but it took some time accepting it. A lot of people were envious of our relationship. So we had a lot of cheerleaders when they thought that it was the demise of the relationship.
Yes.
The most challenging part for me was the shame I was carrying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I knew people were talking.
Yeah.
And then there was also that disappointment in myself because I knew I had my family look up to me. My children do, 2 sons and my daughter. I mean, there are so many girls and women in the community who look up to me. They're looking to see what Sonya do. And if Sonya does something, then maybe we could do it too, because Sonya always makes the right decision and she always does the right thing. And I felt that pressure.
Yeah.
So I was
Girl, you're gonna make my eyeliner
was
run all
ashamed.
over my face.
of the judgment.
Mhm.
And I think more than anything, for the longest time, I felt ashamed, and I was saying because of what people were saying and how they looked at me. But charity, growth, healing, I took accountability. More than anything, I was disappointed in myself
Yes.
because I always had this book of unwritten rules, I call it. And I watched Garvey threw every rule out of the window and I allowed it to happen. Well, I felt I allowed it to happen. And I was disappointed that I saw so many red flags and I didn't do what Sonya really wanted to do about it for fear of society and the public. And I was disappointed in myself because I stayed so long.
Right.
And I projected some of that on the public.
Mhm.
When really and truly the depth of it was coming from me and myself.
It's always so hard to look inwards and look at
Yeah.
that accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a powerful, I would say, reflection on those times. Thank you for sharing that so open. Garvey, what was your perspective?
Showing up for me in the ashes, I would say I use one of the tools that I had to unlearn, basically going through my healing. Because coming from any Caribbean island, boys are told to, hey, it doesn't matter what's going on with you. I remember my grandfather used to tell me, hey, men don't walk around with their head hang. Hold your head up, stick your chest out. Nobody got to know what's going on with you, right? And all the time you're crashing on the inside. So I kind of use that in the beginning to help me to show up daily, even days when I didn't even want to go outside, even days when I knew people were driving by to see where my vehicle was parked, if it was at the main house or it was at the villa, and peeping over the gate and so on and so forth. So there was the shame that I carried because of what I'd done. And now the rumors was out there. And as you know, as we say in the islands, people don't talk stories over the way they heard it for sure. I tend to say we make profit on it, right? And so showing up through that, carrying the shame that I was carrying from what I had done and the life I had lived, it was difficult, but like all of us do in life, and almost everything that we do when we're carrying stuff internally, we mask. So it is as if I showed up just wearing a different mask on a daily basis. I didn't have the mask of showing up. I wasn't showing up with the mask of being this perfect husband anymore because that was now trashed. I was showing up with the mask of going through everything that I was going through internally, but having to show up as if I got this, like I got it all together, basically, when everything was basically crumbling.
Right.
So it was basically, for me, it was putting on a different mask, even though sometimes I know people saw right through it, but that's kind of what I told myself.
So what happened when there were no more masks? How did
Um,
you
Like, what did you have to almost surrender, right? Like, because we have rules about how we behave, right?
mhm.
Good girl, good wife, good husband, whatever. What did you have to give up or surrender to come out on the other side?
You had to allow truth to enter the
Yes.
room.
Yes, truth to enter the room. And for me, it started with open conversations with people that came alongside me.
No more silence.
Open conversations
That part.
with my kids, open conversation with family members as to what I had done and so on and so forth. So, and what I found that for every one of those I had, um, even though in the moment it was deeply shameful, it somehow took a little bit off of me.
It's that
So
old
to speak.
adage, right? The truth will set you free.
Yeah. Not free from what you've done, but you got a freedom. I tend to say I operate from a place of truth,
Yeah.
and I operate from a place of freedom now, where I didn't ask.
I love that.
And it's
Truth didn't
liberating.
set you free from what you did.
No.
It's liberating. I mean, we chose not to be silent anymore. I chose not to be silent anymore.
You took your power back.
Yes.
Yes, that's it.
And it met. I can't
Correct.
even explain the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Listen, women, not only women, but I think couples.
Yeah.
As a couple, you took your narrative back.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
I remember when it started. I remember when it started to unfold to us, because honestly, in the act of doing it, we didn't feel like that was going to be the outcome. But the relief and the assurity and the confidence you got once you started doing it, and you realize, wow, yeah, this is powerful, and this is probably the only way we're going to be able to control the narrative, so to speak. Not that we really wanted to, but we wanted to put our truth out there.
Well, we benefited from that, but we didn't do it to control it.
Exactly. That's why I said not that we wanted to control the narrative per se.
I can tell you quickly what prompted me to do it. It was a retreat that we went to because I was not a sharer.
Yeah.
I, been taught early to take it to the grave.
Mm-hmm.
You don't air your dirty linens and that sort of thing, and you grow up believing that. And then, especially now that I've elevated to a very high position where not only my country is watching me, but parts of the world is watching me as well. So
Yeah.
you dare not let people know you're going through anything.
Yeah.
I went to a retreat, one that Garvey and I went to, because I went to a couple before that, and that didn't move me. I was still in my stubborn era where I didn't want anybody to tell me anything about forgiveness or anything like
Yeah.
that. But when my heart was more open, and we sat and I watched about 15 or so couples just sat down and share their stories in
Yeah.
front of us and everyone else.
Mhm.
And I thought I had the worst story,
Yeah.
right? I mean, well, I guess it depends on how you measure. Because
right.
pain is pain.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what the story is. Pain is pain, and you feel pain the same way. But I thought I had the worst story. And it was so encouraging to hear people speak out loud
Yes.
about their stories.
Mhm.
And I can remember in that moment what that did for me.
Yes.
I felt
And I'm like, and everybody in here looks so free. I cried as people shared their story.
Right.
I cried because I was still in the depths of my pain. And I'm like, well, if that did happen to me, I would be dead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And here they are talking about it. And I think that started healing me right in that moment. And I said, maybe that's what I need to do.
Yep.
Because
That power of
that
that
helped
story.
me. Yes, that helped me. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe
Yeah.
I need to start. And once I start, I shared with a young lady who looks up to me and who always came to me to help. And I shared, she was the first person outside of my daughter, Brittany, that I was really open with, not in detail, but about what Garvey and I was going
through at the time. Yeah.
And after that conversation, I felt like I could have jumped over the moon.
Yeah. I want to say that. I want to give a shout out to Marlon Hill.
Yeah.
That he heard your story and then he introduced you to us. Yes. And he understood that the storytelling piece, the sharing exactly what you're doing, there's a power in it, right?
Yeah.
There's a release, there's a freedom, but also it's a blueprint, right? Because the solution for somebody else may not be what you guys do.
No, it's not a one size fits all.
But
that's for sure.
Even you hearing from other people in that retreat, there are little pieces that you can cobble together that make sense for you in your season with your people and the things that you have, right?
Yeah.
One of the things we talk a lot about here is the concept of wealth, and not in the traditional sense. Just same way we talk about success just now. So when we talk about wealth in Whistle, it is along the lines of health wealth, relationship wealth, spiritual wealth. Like it can't only be green.
Money.
So green. I know in Trinidad, I will kind of different color money, right? But let's talk about, there's an uncomfortable intersection between this betrayal you guys talked about and truth and its impact on not only your reputations, people that do business with you, all of those things, right? When you have a marriage that's so public and that's fractured publicly and that everybody have an opinion on, I couldn't believe you were saying somebody was driving past the house. I mean, but it can also, if we're not careful, and I think that's where the secrecy kind of comes in, right? Or the discretion, right? In quotation marks, because there is a definite impact on your business, your capital, your reputation, all of those things. How did you protect, and even it sounds like grew what you'd built while you were navigating the healing process back to each other?
Well, I wish I could answer that in a way that I could really speak life into someone who is probably going through that problem right now.
Yeah.
But if I am honest, I will tell you that when I decided to speak my truth and not be silent anymore, I wasn't thinking about my career. I wasn't thinking about my family, my businesses, or anything. I was thinking about peace for myself.
That's wealth.
Peace.
Wealth of mind.
Yes.
Peace
Yep.
of mind.
Because you could rebuild anything from that place.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So I don't have a magic answer for that because I honestly didn't take any of those things into consideration.
It was like survival.
It was like freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Garvey? What's your perspective?
For me, when I got to that part, I knew, like I said, that I was at rock bottom in so many different ways, right? And being in coming from a construction background, where I'm always building, right? You have this thing that you can build or rebuild anything. Doesn't matter your losses, right? So I really wasn't worried about all of that at the time either. What I was more worried about is being able to fully look at the man in the mirror and be happy with who's looking back at me. And at that time, I couldn't. So I know that I had to dig deep. I know that I had to sit and get comfortable, per se, in discomfort and just go through whatever work that I had to do through reading help books, through going to retreats, et cetera, and also coming to the full understanding that I had a problem that was not something that I can just fix on my own, that I needed professional help for, which was, and I hated the term at the time, but the aftermath of it is the same. All of the symptoms are the same. They align with sexual addiction. So that's what it was. So I didn't care much about all of the other stuff other than my main focus at the time was trying to, number one, understand why my behaviors were the way they were, and two, what could I do in my power and what help I can get to fix that at the time. And I would always tell myself, because if I can fix me, then I can fix anything else afterwards. So it is me just digging down and buckling down in that more than caring about how I rebuild whatever we had lost, be it, through businesses or how other people saw me if I showed up to a meeting, knowing what I've done in my marriage and so on and so forth. That didn't have much value to me at the time.
I'm hearing a couple of things about how we're thinking about wealth here, right? And it might sound, strange. Wealth in a situation that is so devastating. But we're talking about how you are mentally, the peace of mind that you get. It's also about a deep commitment to telling your truth.
Yeah.
It's also about finding help.
Yes.
Kinds of help
Yes.
that you need. And really when we rethink wealth, because all of a sudden it's not about the workplace, it's not
No.
about the showing up, it's not about rebuilding, it's really back at the core. So at the center of all of this is both individuals. But we can't escape the community, right? We can't escape that this was a very public event, this betrayal, the curiosity, and then when you finally started to speaking in the community. So I wanna understand that first people were very judgmental. People took the narrative away from you. You decided, okay, I'm gonna stand up here and I'm gonna tell my truth. I'm gonna find ways to help myself. What were some of the biggest lessons with that community? Where do you find surprised you in terms of where you got the most amount of help and where you didn't?
And where you had to lead people through their own misconceptions, right? And their own ignorance.
Before we move on, though, I just want to add something else to the piece about the wealth, right? What I also found in that season, in understanding and finding help for myself, I also found help that allowed me to support her through her pain and her hurt, and it taught me how I needed to show up for her through what she was going through at the time as well. So that was more profitable than anything that I could ever do.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely.
Very important.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Learning to help yourself is like putting on the mask, the oxygen mask first, figuring it out.
Exactly.
And then supporting Sonya.
Exactly.
So here you are, telling your truth, telling your truth to the public. What in that process,
the community piece, right? Like, what did you have to shepherd them through and course correct? Like, how did you bring that community back to center for yourselves? Because it fractured, right? What Denz was saying.
Yeah.
Or it's still a work in progress.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I'm just thinking how to, because there are moving parts. Of course, there was the gossiping, the narratives, and all of that, right? At first, we felt that we needed to control the narrative, but we realized that it's the horses at the gate.
Yeah,
It's
very
just
quickly
too
just let
much,
me
and
know
we
about it.
can't try to do damage control with all of this because it's just too much, and then the needle keeps moving. But I find that once we start speaking publicly and we spoke our truth, well, first, I think the most important thing was Garvey and I got together and we had to decide that we're not going to pay attention to that outside noise.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things.
And honestly, we didn't hear a lot of it.
Yeah, and we didn't hear a
We didn't hear a lot of it.
We decided that we weren't going to pay attention to that. If anything did come to us, we were not going to address it. We were not going to allow anyone to come to us with anything negative because we didn't want anyone to derail us from the path that we were on. But what was reassuring, and you asked what surprised us, is that once we spoke our truths, I didn't realize that we had so much support.
Yeah. In places that we didn't even expect.
And when I say that, you have a lot of support publicly, but
on the surface, per se.
behind closed doors, it's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a lot of genuine support. We learned that there were much more persons going through these challenges and walking through the ashes than
Your
we
own
could
ashes.
imagine.
Yeah.
Because people at home don't talk much, Caribbean countries don't talk much. We were surprised how many people reached out to us to speak to us privately
Mm-hmm.
about their journeys. And honestly, almost every time, I think me more than Garvey, because I'm the one who, would go to him and I would say, sometimes I feel so discouraged because, I want to do things at home and help people home, but I can't do it with our people because the negativity and all of that. But when these things started happening, it reminded us of the why.
Yes.
The why we're using our scars to help people. Why are we putting our story out there in the name of helping people? Because that's exactly what we did it for. At the beginning, we wasn't sure if that was going to happen because of the scandal. And when the book broke, it was like it was a soap opera magazine or a Playboy magazine or
Just
something,
got released.
Yeah.
And so we weren't sure then if this would be the case. But the overwhelming positive responses from people who bought our book, whether publicly or privately, because there were a lot of people who bought it privately, because they heard so much about it when it was first launched, because people were picking out certain pieces in small community, knowing some of Garvey's behavior, and persons at home knowing what they did. I guess they expected their name or something to be in there.
They were doing their own damage control.
Yeah, there was a lot of talking going on. So
someone said this book is like drugs.
Yeah.
People hiding to buy it.
Yes. So, but it was surprising to see how many people it touched in such a positive way.
Yeah. Hope.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was surprising to see that, and how many people expressed to us that they needed this.
Yes.
Not just the book, but they needed someone like us, someone like me, or the guys, someone like Garvey, to speak up and share and to show that it shows that if we can do it, anybody can. Some of them may never, but it encouraged them in some way or the other.
I had an insight just now, which is, we started this episode with talking about that leadership tax, the isolation tax, and being the only in that room. It sounds like you guys in a different unexpected leadership capacity. You were the first and only leading in this arena where everybody was hiding. It's like, I don't know if you guys ever watched Lord of the Rings, when Frodo had the blanket of invisibility, but it's so, I hate to use the word refreshing, but honestly, it's
refreshing.
It's powerful and refreshing to hear that side of this, because there's so many things, right? One, you talk about rebuilding, that you're taught to rebuild. You can rebuild anything. Our success as Caribbean leaders, I think, is a superpower, because this was almost harder to do than actually reinvent and do a career thing. That
the hardest thing ever.
Of course.
It was the hardest thing ever. But then it started feeling so easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I don't feel shame talking about it anymore.
Yeah.
I can talk about it in any place or any space.
It's amazing. And I know
I want to go and buy the book now.
she carried way more of the shame than I did.
Right.
Which shouldn't have been. But the more we talked about it, the more people reached out, and you just felt the need to share your story authentically, right? And I'm talking a few that touched me the most is there's this guy. He's much older than I am, and his wife, after finding out about the book and reading what it was about, just came up to me and says, "Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing."
Oh, I thought you was gonna talk about the other guy.
I think it's the same guy.
Okay.
The same guy who the book is still beating, because he hasn't read the book yet. His wife has.
His wife is using it on him every day.
Yeah. Yes. And
You talk about that older gentleman, but
Mhm.
what do you say to like the younger generations that are still
In the
being brought
behavior.
up by our those rules we talk about
Yeah.
this and those conditionings,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
What do you say to them on the other side of this, having gone through what you've gone through and using vulnerability as a strength, right? As a power play.
For especially for young men in our culture, and me speaking to them about my past and my past behaviors and so on and so forth, I think there's no one specific thing you can find to say to them, but it's more a combination of things that is, number one, lead with truth, lead with integrity, and that is in your personal life and your professional life. And know that the things you do doesn't only affect you, it affects your brothers, your sisters, generations to come, and so on and so forth. And for a lot of the younger guys, also, that is still living the life that I lived.
Yeah.
I say to them, number one, if the Lord can change my story, He can change yours. And I know you looked up to me in this previous behavior, and I would just love for you to
That is such a
look
good
up to me
insight.
in this one as well, because a lot of times we don't even realize in our everyday life when we think there's no focus on us, someone's watching. A younger guy is looking at you and like, hey, I know Garvey, he came from North Caicos, he basically came from nothing. And he's with this beautiful wife and they have this beautiful life together and so on. I want that. But then hearing about the rackets, hearing about the ashes, right? If I can guide them through that by sharing excerpts of my story, of our story and my journey and the things that I did that I would want them to do. For me, that is the ultimate. So it's kind of a combination of that, but it all starts with sharing my truth and being open and authentic about it as well. Because a lot of times, and we've experienced it, where people come alongside you and they share things generally with no specifics. And for me, because of what we experienced going to those retreats and how people really shared and how, like you said, you can take nuggets from it and encourage us. I think you get that feeling when it's real. You get that feeling when you can really share with the individual. The energy in the room changes, and then you are more open to going in depth about something specific that you think that they can relate to, and so on and so forth.
Sonya, this is such an amazing insight, right? Because we get both perspective here. We get the male perspective. You're facing something that is very difficult. You're unlearning. You're relearning. And for you, Sonya, you said earlier on that you felt the burden of shame at the start, right? And now we're thinking about the girls. We're thinking about the younger generation behind you. What has this writing this book with your husband taught you that you'd like them to take with them, the younger generation, from your experiences?
Okay. Well, I think first of all, education is key, because a big part of that shame that we as women carry, especially when infidelity enter our marriage, is because we don't understand or we don't even know about betrayal trauma. It's a real thing. And learning about that helped me to understand, and I think that's where some of my shame started being released, was understand that I am not at fault for what Garvey had done.
Exactly.
Because I believe the biggest part of the shame we hold on to is because we feel we failed in some way or the other.
That is so important. What you
Yes.
said.
If I was doing this,
Yeah.
you
So all
would
the
have done
aunties
that.
and the
They make you
Or
feel
say-
that
yeah,
way.
Yeah.
Because
like, what did you do wrong, or
what you or what did you not do?
Mhm.
And you know, you'd be surprised to know how many women still think that way. And because we as women think that way, the children, the girls we mentor come up like that. Because
Yes.
I came up like that.
Mhm.
But betrayal trauma helps you to understand that it's not your fault. And you can do everything humanly possible to be the best wife or the best woman in the world. If that man is stuck in that behavior until he gets help, no matter what you do, no matter how much he adores you, wants you, or love you, but that behavior is not going to change, and it's not your fault.
Powerful words.
It's not your fault.
So, how can people get the book?
Okay.
hopefully they don't have to hide and buy it.
No, hopefully. How do we
Garvey's dying, right?
Even at home, they stop hiding.
It's not hiding now.
So,
Okay, we're safe, people.
so, well, people can come out to the signing event on
Books and
Sunday
Books.
at Books and Books,
Coral
Gables
Coral Gables.
location. Lots of books.
Sunday.
February 22nd, starting at 7 p.m. You can come there. There will be paperback copies, hard copies. You can get your signed copies there. And also, if you're not going to make the event, they can get the books on Amazon.com. Yes.
Amazing. Well, this has been such a great conversation. I think when I reflect on it earlier, I'm going to think about this for quite a long time. But there's so many nuggets here about leadership, about owning your truth,
Yeah.
about facing pain, about stepping up in ways that we haven't even thought about how we think about wealth. What's the most important asset that we have? It's really within us.
Within us. Yeah.
And when we don't have it within us, how do we get the right help so that we can help ourselves first, then help others? And what are we leaving behind? How do we harness our community? I think, Sonya, you said it, that sometimes we're surprised by the amount of support that we have because we think we're alone, right? We
Yes.
think we're
Yes.
looking out from this ivory tower. I mean, the truth, and in fact, based from what both of you all said, there was so many people reaching out to you and genuinely wanting to understand and learn from your journey. Now, what you leave behind, I think, for all of us, it's Stacey. This is something that we don't talk about in the Caribbean very openly,
Right.
and you're leaving a blueprint of behavior, because this is a behavior that evolved into a process of writing a book together and leaving those lessons behind. So a lot for us to chew on and reflect. So thank you both for your honesty and your openness. And as you said earlier on, if you can, one person can benefit from what you did, one couple, one individual.
Yes.
And I think a misnomer people have is that relationships that have betrayal and all of that stuff, it's usually from something that's quote unquote bad. So whether it's infidelity, alcoholism, drug use, whatever, right? Sometimes we get caught up in something we think is good. We can be a workaholic.
Yeah. Yep. You're right.
You could chase success to the point where you're never at
At the
home with your
detriment of your
partner
family.
or your
Yep.
family members. And so there are different ways that we abandon ourselves in a relationship. And it doesn't even have to be with a spouse, right? But there are different ways that we abandon the relationship. And then when something goes wrong, it's really easy because maybe it was an obvious thing they did to point the finger and be like, well, it was your fault. You made this happen and so forth. And I think that the lesson here, for me, certainly, I know building on what Denise just said, is there's so many pieces to this that apply to us as a Caribbean diaspora that sprung from what on the surface, caused that destruction, right?
Yeah.
So I want to really thank both of you for your integrity and honesty and commitment to sitting in a place that for many maybe seems insurmountable.
Yeah.
And just kind of owning it and being like, shh, this happened. Here's what we did. Here's where we are. Let's go.
And be
Yeah.
honest, right? Honest
Yes.
about it.
That's
Yes.
the key.
Leading with
That's
truth.
the key.
Yeah.
Leading with truth.
So, for those of you listening, at Whistle, we want to document not only Caribbean excellence, we want to document how Caribbean people and Caribbean leaders and the Caribbean diaspora in the world navigate power, community, and influence without erasing themselves. You know, we talked a lot on here about the wearing the masks or putting on the armor, right? Or keeping the secret to protect whoever, right?
Right.
Today, we expanded on that definition, and I want to say we heard some ways to break through some of our own ceilings and some of our own status quos. So for anyone listening who's operating at the highest levels, whether it's in business or public office or marriage, this is a reality, right? Power without that emotional stability. Sonya, you mentioned peace,
It's nothing like it.
right? Peace is the ultimate power move, right?
Yeah.
And maturity.
Yes.
You know, Garvey, when you talk about owning what you did and even saying it out loud what it was is a form of maturity
That's
that
power.
it's
It
right.
does something to you even now.
Yeah. So I
couldn't
w-
say it.
Even
I want to
now,
say that
I couldn't say it.
yeah, a part of
Yes.
you. Even when you said it,
He
you
struggled
said
with
it. Yeah, but you said it stronger the second time. I
Mhm.
didn't catch it, but I just want to commend you that we know. No, we don't. We don't know how hard this was, but
No.
we certainly respect and honor
Your journey.
sharing this space with us. We really, really do. And the legacy piece, amazing, because what
the
you said,
blueprint, the
yeah.
blueprint that you're leaving.
what you said
behind.
really shook me because you're absolutely right. In the Caribbean, you know, we have all kind of words for, I don't want to use the word players, but saga boy, star boy,
Mhm.
all the things.
Rude boy.
Yeah, and we
Mhm.
look, they look up to them.
Yes.
And the woman, for the most part, bears the burden, if you will, or the responsibility of.
And the shame.
Of
Yes.
the
Up there.
behavior.
Yes.
So it was super, super beneficial and refreshing for us all to hear this. So, listeners, leadership is not only how we scale, it's how we repair, how we replenish, how we come back from the ashes. And wealth isn't just capital. Wealth is our community. Wealth is our ability to navigate hard things, come out of it on the other side with a remedy and help others get there. And legacy isn't only what we leave behind, but it's what we protect under pressure.
Yes.
And so we ask you to come and join us as we
Yes.
have these conversations. And we thank our guests, Garvey and Sonya. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having us.
And we'll see you next time on the pod. Next time. See you. Thank